I hope I have the speaking chops to have this request land the way I want it to land for people that wouldn't know me if I bit them in the neck. I was going to request compassion, but I realized that's not enough. That's just a feeling. But compassion is a central component of a quality that all human beings have that when activated is enough. This quality emerges early in life, but it retreats early too. So it isn't always activated. It isn't activated in very many at one time, and it isn't activated for very long. So why is it so fragile? Why so temporary? Well, because this quality doesn't have anything to do with us. It doesn't serve us as individuals, doesn't do anything for our survival, doesn't get us ahead, get us more better in different stuff, doesn't help us dominate or avoid domination. It doesn't burnish our reputation or protect our identity. And it's in competition with other qualities that make up human beings. And these other qualities are about all that stuff. These qualities are about getting ahead, succeeding, winning, looking good, being right, dominating, avoiding domination, protecting what's ours, getting more so we can call more ours, getting authority, becoming somebody important, acquiring power, ultimately becoming defensive, possibly aggressive. And politicians down through the ages have sanctioned these qualities and made the quality I'm advocating for seem like a weakness or something naive. Machiavellian leaders have demonized it down through the ages, saying that it is dangerous because it leaves us vulnerable and unprotected and easy to exploit. So, what is this quality? Well, it's the quality that brought Jesus Christ to the cross. It's the quality that brought Martin Luther King to the crowds. It's the quality that brought Mahatma Gandhi to the fasts and the masses. It's the quality that brought Mother Teresa to the sick. It's the quality that brought Father Flanagan to Boys Town. So give it a name. I'm going to, but not now. I want to give it a couple of stories to bring it to life. Then I want to talk about how to identify it in everyday life. And then I want to talk about how to activate it in yourself. And then I'll give it a name. Regarding the stories, I have a friend in Montana, where I'm from, who was a very young boy, went fishing with his father. He was too young to fish, but he loved to go with his father. His father was fishing on the Sun River, a little west of Great Falls, and he was fishing for trout. But he wasn't catching any trout. He was just catching carp and suckers, which are called trash fish there. And he'd mutter when he caught one angrily and yank the hook out and throw it up on the bank. And when he wasn't looking, my friend get down on his hands and knees and crawl through the muck and the weeds and find those gasping fish and crawl all the way upstream and free them into the river, knowing that if father caught him doing this, there'd be hell to pay and he'd never be invited to fish with his father again. Why would he take that risk for fish, especially suckers and carp? It's all risk. There's no benefit to him. He doesn't profit from that in any way. Well, there's the quality. Activated young. I have another friend in Montana who was a young boy at the age of 12, I suppose. Went on a hike with 3 of his friends, so 4 12-year-old boys. And they're hiking south of Great Falls, Montana. Got about 1.5 miles out of town. They're standing up on top of a big hill, and then one of them started to wobble. And then he fell and rolled all the way to the bottom of the hill. Really shocked the other 3 boys. And so they climbed down to see to his fate, and he was all scratched up, but that wasn't what's so shocking. What was shocking was the state of his body. It was all rigid, and his fists were clenched. His eyes had rolled up in his head. Foam was coming out of his mouth. He's thrashing back and forth and back and forth. They had never seen anything like this before, and they thought he was dying, and they were terrified, and they wanted to get as far from that scene as they possibly could. And two of them did. 2 of them ran away, ran into town. The 3rd boy wanted to run with them. He was just as terrified, but something compelled him to stay. Something had him strive to help, even though he didn't know how, didn't know why, didn't know what to do. He got down and put the boy's head in his lap and stroked his hair and talked to him. After a while, he came around, really, really groggy, got him up to his feet, kind of half carried him into town, Stopped at the first house on the edge of town. A woman came to the door. He explained their plight. She brought them in, laid the afflicted boy on the couch, and told the other boy all about epilepsy. Never heard of it before. Didn't know it existed. They called the afflicted boy's parent, and everything turned out fine. So why that story? Well, what is it that compelled that boy to stay, even though he was just as terrified of his friends as his friends? Well, it was the activation of that quality. The plight of his friend activated the quality that I'm talking about here. How do you see this quality in everyday life? Because it's out there. Well, I'll tell you how I do it. I watch. I watch when people help other people or other beings in some way. I watch very, very carefully, and I try and figure it out. Why are they doing that? How does this profit them? What benefit are they gaining from helping out that being? And if I can't for the life of me figure it out, then I know I'm looking at the quality. It's present where I work. I work at Boys Town, Nebraska, Boys Town in Omaha, Nebraska, Father Flanagan's boys' home. Arguably the best known and most effective program for troubled youth in the United States, possibly the world, and one of the oldest. It's been around for more than 100 years, founded by Father Flanagan at the beginning of the 20th century. And it's still suffused by some of his philosophies that are consistent with the quality, one of which is, he ain't heavy, he's my brother, which makes him easy to carry. Another one is, there's no such thing as a bad boy, only bad environment, bad modeling, and bad teaching. In other words, bad circumstances. And these are more responsible for the misbehavior of young people than some flaw in their character or their morality. Those are parts of his philosophy. A lot of tenets to the program. But right at the core of the program is an example, in my opinion, of human magnificence that's completely unrecognized, unsung heroes. These are people called family teachers. They sign on to live with and raise 6 to 8 troubled, out-of-home adolescents that have been shown demonstrably to be unraisable. Their families couldn't raise them. Their schools couldn't educate them. Most of them have been expelled. Their social services programs couldn't care for them. And most of them are on their way to gladiator school, otherwise known as juvenile detention. But through a fortunate buffet of the fates, they step off and step into Boys Town and live with these couples, these young couples. Sometimes they have children of their own. So you got to ask yourself, what would have these couples do this work to live with and raise these youth? Is it for the money? No, it's not for the money. It's not a lucrative profession. They don't make, that means, yes, they get paid, but not enough to get ahead, not enough to retire early. And they're educated couples. There are other things they could do that would pay better and be vastly easier. It's not about the money. Is it about the recognition? Well, no, most of you are hearing about it for the first time. It's anonymous work. Maybe it's because this is what they're good at. They're really good at raising adolescents. No, they've never raised an adolescent before, not to mention 6 to 8 troubled out-of-home adolescents. They know they don't know how to do it, and they're terrified. Yes, we support them. Yes, we train them. But at the end of the day, they know that it's just going to be them alone in those homes with those 6 to 8 troubled out-of-home adolescents. Why would they do this? Well, what I conclude, using my method, is that the plight of these young people activates the quality in them, and they make it their life's work. Many of them, not all of them. Sometimes it just proves to be too hard, and I can certainly understand that. And this quality, you see it in parenting, particularly single parenting, and I want to single out single mothers, sacred beings, in my opinion. So the monumental nature of what a single mother takes on is virtually impossible to measure. It'll be the most difficult thing she ever does in her life. And it eats up the best years of her life, and she has to be careful with everything for the benefit of her children, including her romantic possibilities, which narrows down her options. And why does she do this? For the sake of her children. One of the things that makes it harder, nobody knows and nobody cares, sometimes not even her own children. Another thing that makes it harder is she has this nagging notion the back of her mind, sometimes the foreground of her mind, and she's just not doing it very well. And she has nobody to bounce it off of to find out. What has her hang in there? Well, in my opinion, it's a realization that she has. Sometimes a nauseating realization. Sometimes a realization that wakes her up in the middle of the night. She realizes she's all there is. She's all that stands between these children and the abyss. Take her out of the equation, the future of these children is really unknown and singularly probably unpleasant. And that realization, that activates the quality in her, and it has her keep on keeping on. So, how do you activate it in yourself? It's there, and it's been activated. It's a quality all human beings have, and I assert that it's been activated in all of your lives. So how do you activate it now? You go through your history, go through your past, find instances where you yourself have reached out to help another being in trouble with no benefit to yourself, no profit to be obtained from that, and look at it in your mind's eye. And let me tell you something about what you're looking at. That's you, baby. That's you, baby. You're the star of that movie, so you know how to do it. Now, just get a sense of it, get a feel for it, look at it, and bring it forth. This is my request. Bring it forth. How much? Just more. Just more. More than you already have. More than you're currently doing. Imagine if everybody did more. So let me give it a name. And I'm going to borrow from the Bible, and I'm going to borrow from Abraham Lincoln. It says in the Bible, there are angels among us. It doesn't say what they look like or how to find them, but it kind of gives us an idea of what they do. And what do they do? One of the things they do is they look out for beings in trouble. In a speech by Abraham Lincoln, one of many where he's trying to maintain the Union, he called upon the better angels of our nature. So I assert, ladies and gentlemen, I say, ladies and gentlemen, I declare, ladies and gentlemen, that this quality that I've been talking about, this quality that I've been describing, is the angel of our nature. And what I'm asking for is for you to bring it forth into the world because we need it now more than ever before. So I want to thank you, but not for listening to me. This is a prepayment for activating the angel of your nature. Good afternoon.